Our next presenter is Sal Anderson. Sal Anderson is a science-trained drama and documentary filmmaker whose Wellcome Trust Arts Award films include collaborations with neuropsychiatrists and psychiatrists on visual agnosia and epilepsy. Films directed by Sal have been shown in international festivals, including Toronto, Chicago and Rotterdam, and as part of the Best Short Films of 2006, screened by the British Council at the Cannes Film Festival. Thank you.
Hello. Am I audible? Am I quoting right? May I not be like this? Did you say may I not be like this? There's a kind of divide that we find ourselves in on one or other side of here, and most of us float between the two. I'm just going to make sure that I don't speak too long by setting my time here. So, I'm going to give a talk that's really about psychiatry and the subjective, and what I'm interested in is the subjective. The films that I've made have involved working with extraordinary people with all sorts of profound experience from which we learn so much, and also with neuropsychologists and psychiatrists. I started in this period on a film about visual agnosia, which we all know about because of Sachs' book, The Man Who Mistook His Wife for a Hat, or the other way around. He had object agnosia, and we were looking at a young man, an extraordinary young man called Michael, with visual form agnosia. The extraordinary experience of not being able to decipher what it is you're looking at. What I'm doing today is creating an arc between the two films that I'm going to show, or show clips of, on neurological conditions. And I'm proposing that if the neurological conditions that I'm looking at, visual form agnosia and epilepsy, have such a profound impact on identity and a sense of self, how much more can a condition that of itself is defined as, has been defined throughout history as madness. So, in a way, the arc of the story, I start with visual agnosia, a young man who can't understand or recognize what it is he's looking at. So, oops, I've just... I have my wonderful friend here who can...
You were absolutely right. There we go.
Don't do that one, I'm sure. So shall I have the lights down?
It says no entry. I don't see no entry. You don't see anything.
So essentially what we're doing, thanks Nigel, is to look at how film can convey an unreadable image. When we made the film, I think it was the first time that the level that we worked with a neuropsychologist in trying to work out what happens moment by moment. What was very interesting was Ros McCarthy, who's foremost in this area of research, in the world in fact, had never really either been asked this kind of question or had it posed. So much of the work in visual agnosia had been done on the static image, and David Marr's work is extraordinary in making that transition into understanding how it works. So we used CGI, obviously a little bit, but essentially we were deconstructing 3 dimensions and trying to play around with different elements. I'm just going to show one more piece. So I'll talk through this one a bit, Nigel, so if we can keep the lights down. Essentially, we can keep the lights down, that would be great. Essentially, with visual form agnosia, there is a sense in which space, you can negotiate space, but not identify what you're looking at. So, thanks Nigel. We then went on to make a film on epilepsy, where the sense of identity is appropriated by the other. Obviously, if you are unconscious, if you have a tonic-clonic seizure, or even if you have a partial seizure, you lose a sense of consciousness, and you are reliant on somebody else's account of what the real world is, what has just happened. And again, looking at what the impact on your sense of identity might be. So this next clip starts with a piece that was done as a theatre piece, was done by the Danish Epilepsy Society. So they gave us some of the material to incorporate in the film.
Other people are terrified of seeing you having a seizure, and no one ever, ever, ever asks you what it's like for you having a seizure.
Yes, I mean, they stand around for a while, and what they're not doing is looking for any jewellery, or, they're not looking for any evidence of the fact that I have epilepsy.
I didn't particularly want an ambulance, but once it's called, you have to have the ambulance. I didn't need an ambulance, so I was carted off to hospital.
And they do that when you're at work, even if it's at the Home Office. Even though it's a big organisation, they understand about it, because from their point of view, they have to protect themselves as well as protect the person that's having it. So they always, if you haven't come out one after a few minutes, even if it's just a small one, it takes you longer to regain consciousness and awareness, what's going on around.
Having a seizure.
So essentially, we see here this relationship between on the two sides of the experience. But the extraordinary thing about making this film with people with epilepsy. I set up a series of workshops. There were acting workshops to help the group relax and connect with each other and open out and talk about their experiences. And the amazing and really heartbreaking thing was what they talked about wasn't their own experience. It wasn't how terrible it was to have a seizure. And what Barbara does here is she was the only person who really said, nobody asks you what it's like for you to have a seizure. Essentially what everybody talked about was other people's experience. And the powerful message that came across was that their own subjective experience was stolen and wasn't theirs, and they couldn't trust their own objective experience, but they also couldn't therefore trust their own subjective experience. So in all these cases, and with the people that we worked with, it became very apparent of what the power of what that might be. So we then, in this final film, which was a film that I commissioned and produced, but was directed by Dolly Sen, who is a remarkable woman, a remarkable advocate of mental health. So in a way, I arrive at this point of looking at the loss of subjectivity. And before I do that, I just want to pop back to where we started with visual agnosia. And there's in the Mind's Eye, I think, one of Sachs's books, he mentions the experience. He quotes the experience of a psychiatrist a psychologist who's working with somebody with alexia, which is somebody who can't read writing. They can't recognise writing. A very erudite man who has alexia in his life suddenly, and he can't read what is written. And he says that it was as if he had gone mad. To know that what you're looking at is writing and not to be able to understand it, not to be able to recognise what these hieroglyphs are. And in a way that something like a neurological condition can make you feel mad, in a way becomes, for me, a central point in what it might be like if you are actually diagnosed as mad. And so I just want to show you a clip from Dolly Sen's film.
They know this psychosis? Are you dreaming? Trust no one. Were you even listening to this conversation?
I don't know.
You don't even know your own mind. Don't put me down.
This is, I should have said beforehand, this is something that happened to Dolly. She was advised by her doctor to go outside. The film's called Outside. Go outside and you will feel better. But she knew that it might be hard going outside with the other stimulations of the big city, and indeed she was plagued by hallucinations. So just a small taster of looking at the subjective. I asked Dolly to write something for me about her subjectivity, and so I'm going to end on what she wrote. And I'm sorry she's not here because she's giving a talk. She's always all over the world talking about the experience of mental health. She says, I think psychosis is both the most and the least subjective experience there is. The most because there is a shaky and insubstantial connection with the objectivity most other people share. Sometimes I am scared to enter the world of my subjectivity because it is the loneliest subjectivity. With most people telling you it's wrong or being scared of it, I don't know what to do with that subjectivity. It's also a changeable subjectivity. I know most people's are, but with me it's extreme. It's being on a razor-blazing swing. It's also the least subjective because it is so uncertain. Which one to choose, which one to believe, which one to live by, which one to hang identity upon, which one will tell you the truth about my life? Did it even belong to me? The ghost of subjectivity haunts me, and the ghost hides very well. And then in relation to why are we here? What are we doing? What do we do in a theatre or in our practice? She adds, the only place my subjectivity can make sense of itself is through art. There I cannot be told it doesn't exist. And that's why I prefer art over medicine when it comes to feeling like I am a human being in a world that tells me that I am a broken one. Thank you.